Good afternoon, members. We'll call to order the Committee on Jobs and Economic Development. Today is Wednesday, February 5th. Once a quorum is present, I will announce that, but right now we're waiting for one other person in order to make sure that we have quorum. Just so that we have a roadmap as to how things are going to go today, we will be hearing Senate File number 365 from Senator Boldon, and then we'll hear Senate File 221 and 228 and 229 and Senate File 237 from our wonderful lead, Senator Draheim. And then we will hear Senate File 582 from Senator Jasinski and Senate File 304 from Senator Lang. Needless to say, we have a full schedule today, so we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes. That's consistent with our committee. A senator can take as much time as they want, but as testifiers, that'll be limited to 2 minutes. And the reason for that is because we believe that testimony from others and the public should enhance each other and not repeat each other. So we want you to be aware of that. And last but certainly not least, this is also on the committee website, and all testifiers have been made aware of this in advance, so you will not get any surprises. But here's the other reason why I limited it to 2 minutes, so everyone has the same opportunity to present their bill. So no one can say, oh, he gave more time to A and not to B. And I like to be fair when it comes to making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. So with that being said, the smiles on your faces and the nods that I'm receiving means you understand it, you get it, and you're ready to go. Senator Draheim.
As they come up, Chair, I was just going to talk about oversight a little bit. You know, last year we had an amendment that bipartisan, we worked on having reporting on all of our bills that were presented. And I hope we could continue that effort this year, you know, as the fraud, waste, and abuse that we hear about all the time continues to be front and center with most of our constituents. That we can figure out how we can do better on all these. And I don't want to waste committee time by having an amendment for everyone and stress out our staff drafting a million amendments. But I think we need to have a discussion relatively soon in this committee on how we're going to look at it for the year, and you know, and continue to push ourselves to do better for the people of Minnesota. So thank you.
Senator Draheim, thank you for constantly being, consistent. Let me just say that. One, I will say this, that we'll always have that discussion about how we can do better, because my motto is I believe that there's room for improvement, and so we'll always look to see how we can improve. Secondly, I am pleased to say that unfortunately the fraud that we are hearing is not as a result of any of the agencies that we have jurisdiction over, but that doesn't mean that we cannot and should not continue to look at how to improve. And last but certainly not least, I do like the idea that once we put a bill together to have language so that you don't have to do an amendment for every single bill that comes forward. We know we like to hear you do that, but we can, you know, one time is enough. So thank you so very much, and we'll certainly do that because we share in that reality. If nothing else, with that being said, up first is Senator Boldon. She'll be presenting, as I mentioned earlier, Senate File 365. So she'll come forward and start her presentation. And when you're ready, Senator Boldon, if you'll be so kind as to, identify yourself for the record, start your presentation, and then you can turn it over to any one of your other testifiers. And once they start testifying, then we will clock them at 2 minutes. So thank you so much. Senator Boldon to Senate Files 365.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, members. I'm Senator Liz Boldon. I represent District 25, which is Rochester area. It is fitting that this is my first bill presentation of this year, because this is the first bill that I ever carried in the legislature, and it is one of my favorites. This is a bill that I love, so I am really grateful to be presenting it to you today. This is an innovative program, Bridges to Healthcare, that has been proven to be successful in southern Minnesota. It is a win-win-win. It is a program initially launched in the Rochester area and has expanded through additional partnerships to the areas of Albert Lee, Austin, Faribault, Owatonna, Red Wing, and Winona communities. And I'm happy to share that productive conversations are underway to expand further. Bridges to Healthcare is a public-private partnership that helps non-traditional students transition into a lifelong career in healthcare. These careers provide a livable wage and benefits and helps to meet the workforce needs specific to our healthcare industry and our community while promoting diversity and inclusivity in our communities. Many of the students and graduates of the program are non-traditional students, perhaps older in age, or first-generation students, or use English as a second language. The unique partnership of this program provides the pathway and support to allow students to gain needed education experience in order to pursue professional training and available certifications and degrees. Examples of possible roles include, but are not limited to, certified nursing assistants, patient care associates, phlebotomists, home health aides, administrative supervisors, and registered nurses. This program received $750,000 each in each year of the last biennium from the Workforce Development Fund. And due to the ongoing success and expansion of the program, this bill seeks to maintain that level of funding. I want to just note that while we are asking to maintain the current level of funding, the program itself will actually expand. So to share more about the program, I am joined today by several colleagues, and we'll have them introduce themselves and say a little more about how great the program is.
And let me just say that a quorum is present. So to the next presenter, go forward and please identify yourself for the record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Bridges to Healthcare. My name is Ginny Rittman. I'm the Executive Director for Workforce Development and for the Workforce Development Board of Southeast Minnesota. We serve as the fiscal agent, the convener, and administrative agency for the program, which includes a number of private and public partners such as RCTC, or Rochester Community and Technical College, Riverland, Mayo Clinic, Hawthorne Education Center, and of course, WDI. Minnesota currently has about 4,500 job vacancies for RNs and 2,500 vacancies for nursing assistants, with a 10.4 vacancy rate. This nationally recognized program started in 2011. In 2019, we started discussions on expanding the program to other parts of the region due to the recommendation of this committee, but also time to increase our impact throughout the region. We're proud to say that since our approved allocation in 2023, we now have programming in 8 counties. Our overall annual costs with expansion efforts total just over $1 million. We've secured private business and other funding totaling 25% of our budget, representing one of the only true private-public partnerships in the state. Our cost per student is $3,608. When we came to you in 2023, I shot high and reported that we could likely serve over 300 students each year with the increased funding. Admittedly, due to workforce shortage issues, I was a little hesitant on this, but I'm proud to come back to you today and report that we've already served over 300 students per year, and we have 5 months left in this biennium. We estimate to serve 420 this year. It's also notable that 80% of the hires from Bridges to Healthcare are ethnically diverse, and 60% are going to support vastly understaffed long-term care facilities. What we're asking you to support today is helping us further build a sustainable and successful workforce program that serves as a trifecta win-win-win, as she mentioned, a win by supporting individuals to economic security, a win by helping meet workforce talent needs and decreasing disparities, and a win to increase tax revenue, lower the cost of public supports, and increase the economic vitality of the region.
Thank you so very much. And you know what I want to say is impressive? You did it under 2 minutes, let me just say. Thank you for that. To the next testifier.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I am Ghislaine Yamogbe, and I am the student representative of RN class 2026. And I am here as a living proof of the incredible support of Bridges to Healthcare. Through the support, financial support of Bridges to Healthcare, my CNA and then TMA training were fully funded. And then my fall 2024 tuition also were paid. And my car used to give me hard time, and the repair also was funded. And this contribution has made a huge difference in my life and my family's life. because from moving from CNA to TMA, I increased my income, and then I have less financial burden. I can go with my car to clinical and use it for my family to work and for school. And I think that support has a lot to do in the recognition I got at school. I made the president list on fall 2022 and the dean list last semester, and I'm still working hard to be a good nurse. So this program has done a lot for me, and I'm here to give that testimony. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much. Thank you for your testimony. And I have one question. I think you said that you were shooting high, and you were thinking you would be able to accomplish engaging or getting at least 200 people through. Did I hear you correctly that you said that you all have gotten 300 students per year through, and that you're on track for, is it 420 this year? I just want to make sure that I heard that correctly. To the testifier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the reason I said I shot high is because we were expanding. You know, we were trying to replicate this program in several other counties, and that takes time, building those partnerships and relationships. And so we said we would likely be able to serve over 300 students per year, and we've already hit that mark, and we're on track to serve about 420 this year.
Well, good job. Thank you so very much. Senator Nelson, I had you down because I knew that this was Rochester, that you were going to be the first one to speak. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for coming, Senator Boldon. Thank you for achieving this year. I'm glad to be on this bill with you. This is a huge success, and it has multiplied into other communities, and we are seeing people's lives change. This is not just about getting the support, the education. This is the jobs that go with this. This changes families. This changes trajectories. This is one of the most successful programs that I've seen in I think I've been here 17 years now. This is a highly successful program, and the state has an ability to help, and I hope we do again, but it also says a lot to the community, to the Workforce Development Center, and to the businesses that step up and mentor as well and provide these jobs. So, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity to comment. I wish you great success as you move forward. If you did not say already the other communities, did you mention those for the committee? Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that it is good things multiply. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Senator Boldon, it sounds like it's been pretty successful. I recognize that I think someone said that there's roughly 4,500 vacancies in this area. Is there any more that you think that we can do in order to be helpful to fill that gap and make sure that we have additional bodies and energy in this area before I go to Senator Pratt? Senator Boldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and would welcome input from the testifiers as well. But I think, as has been shared, and thank you, Senator Nelson, for speaking so powerfully about the benefits of this program. I think it is a proven program that has shown success over time. I mean, they are doing the work. This is how we do it, and it really having that public-private partnership is sort of like the secret sauce, and just it is being able to expand. Like the need is there, the desire is there, so having the resources to keep it moving forward and to continue to expand, I think, is really important. I also just want to take a note to point your attention to, there is a letter from the Rochester Chamber of Commerce in your packets as well. And so, you know, the business community also recognizes and appreciates the impact of this program. And so just continuing to support and allowing it to, you know, provide those wraparound services to students and, you know, to connect them with those much needed jobs in our communities that allow for changing people's lives.
Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Boldon and Senator Nelson, for bringing this forward. You know, the Jobs Committee has a history over several years and multiple biennium supporting Bridges to Healthcare. Just a couple of questions. You reference high demand, low income, and hard to train individuals. And I know in a bill that we have coming up, we specifically reference a statute that includes some of those definitions. Is your intent to follow the definitions that we have for high demand and low income within 116L.99? And then how do you define hard to train?
Senator Boldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Pratt, for the question. I would need to refresh myself with that definition. I don't have that in front of me, and so I don't know that I can speak to that. Sounds like one of my testifiers can.
Anyone else want to testify to that definition?
I have it right here. I could run it up to him.
Okay. Senator Draheim is going to bring it up to you. Thank you, Senator Draheim.
And then,
Senator Pratt.
thank you, Mr. Chair. And then maybe just one other thought as they get a chance to look at that. I see that we're providing 5% for administrative costs, but we're also allowing some of the proceeds to be used for space rental. I'm wondering if it's the intent that the space rental come out of the administrative costs, and maybe we can clarify that, or so that we have more of the true workforce development funds going to support getting people career and career level jobs.
Senator Boldon, to the question, one about the definition, and then the second question they had was in relation to the up to 5% of grant proceeds may be used for administrative costs and how that was going to be dealt with in order to make sure that we have more money available for the actual students as opposed to just spending it on the administration. All right. Identify yourself for the record and go forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt. Ginny Rittman, Workforce Development, Inc., and I think I can answer both of those. So first of all, we do train all of our programs fall under the high wage, high demand category for the occupations that we're training folks for. In terms of eligibility or hard to train. So we have eligibility criteria that is set through Department of Employment and Economic Development for the individuals that we serve under their Adult Career Pathways umbrella. And so there's a list of criteria there, but definitely low income falls in there. English language learners, individuals with criminal backgrounds, although that doesn't really pertain to Bridges to Healthcare. But so there's a whole list of eligibility criteria that constitute that hard to train. Most of the individuals that we serve are in the low income category and or also have some basic skills need or English as a second language. That's kind of our larger population. And then I have a breakdown of our budget here for you. There are no space costs outside of administration, so that's all within that 5%. Just to give you a little bit more information, 49% of it goes to direct career services, which is our career counseling staff and wraparound services. 30% goes to training. Support services is 2.5%. So if that helps a little bit kind of with the breakdown, our space costs are covered under other costs or admin.
Senator Pratt, a follow-up?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just maybe as I'm presuming that since this is coming from Workforce Development Fund, we're going to be laying this over. Maybe we could ask Senate Council to work with the author to make the appropriate cross-references to deed and pathways or the statute so that it doesn't look like we're reinventing the wheel and maybe having some of the ambiguity that we've seen in some other bills that we've passed, and then also to clarify that the space rental will be coming out of the administrative costs, out of that 5% of administrative costs, just to be clear.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Pratt. So council will work with the bill author. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. So Senate file number 365 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you so very much, Senator Boldon, and to your testifiers.
Thank you.
Members, your agenda has another bill coming up second, but we will make a small change, and that will be for Senate file number 582, which is Senator Jasinski is going to come forward. And it looks like there's two other individuals who also asked to testify. That would be specifically Eric Simonson as well as Darielle Dannon. If you both could come up, that would be great. And we will start, of course, with the Senate author, Senator Jasinski. Welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is my 9th year coming in front of this committee with this same request this is a bipartisan bill. I want to thank my co-authors, Senator Hochschild, Senator Putnam, and Senator Nelson. This is the famous BDPI program, which I think is one of the most important programs in greater Minnesota that really is an economic engine for our industry across the state. The current ask this year is $2.5 million in fiscal year 26 and $2.5 million in 2027. Currently, the balance of the fund is about $5 million, but to my understanding, and Mr. Simonson will testify, that there's all that money is in the pipeline right now of projected projects that will come forward. One important thing with this program is we really need to have that fund balance available, so when an opportunity comes along, that money is there and it can be quickly accessed. This is a 50-50 match that allows cities to expand their infrastructure to promote job development. And with that, I'm going to turn over my testifiers so we can move on, and I think I'd first like to turn it over to Mr. Eric Simonson.
Former Senator Simonson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and thank you, Senator Jasinski, for once again authoring this bill. This is a very important bill for greater Minnesota and economic development, and Senator Jasinski knows this program inside and out, and there's not a lot more that I can add to what he's already said. However, we also want to thank the many co-authors on this bill, as well as many of the members sitting around this table that have been helpful in this program in years past. I think what I want to do is turn your attention to this handout that should be in your packet. It's also posted online. I think this is our latest handout for 2025 around the BDPI program, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory about how important it is to communities all across greater Minnesota. I would just kind of look at some of the numbers on the first page here. Since 2010 alone, $75 million have been awarded to greater Minnesota cities and counties through 167 individual grants. Those grants have helped create more than 5,000 new jobs, and probably equally as important, retaining nearly another 10,000 jobs in rural Minnesota. You can see for yourself that the program is widely used and proven successful. BDPI is generally funded in two ways, one through a smaller general fund appropriation carried through the jobs bill, and then we also seek another appropriation through the capital investment bill. Why this appropriation from the general fund is important? Because it helps kind of fill those gaps in between the uncertainty of when a capital investment bill may or may not be passed. As Senator Jasinski indicated, as of December, DEED informs us that there's just over $5 million left available. Another 5 projects in the queue. That money will be exhausted very soon. Discontinuing this program or underfunding it will only hurt greater Minnesota communities. Always a struggle for greater Minnesota communities to continue to grow or maintain population, and this program really is a tried and true grant program proven widely successful since 2002. The base budget line for greater Minnesota BDPI is just a little bit less than the $2.5 million in Senator Jasinski's bill. He is simply asking for a little bit more general fund money to help offset the incoming projects and gaps between those capital investment bills.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Simonson. You certainly went over your time, but we still gave you a little more time. All right, to Ms. Dannon, you want to take it from there?
Sure. Chair, members of the committee, thanks for having me. Darielle Dannon. One of the roles I'm serving now is the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Partnership. So mostly wanted to come here, thank our bill author, and reiterate a lot of my colleagues' comments that this is a really important package of investments for Greater Minnesota. Just to give you the 2-second, Greater Minnesota members, or GMP, Greater Minnesota Partnership members, include the Mayo Clinic, Essentia. They include regional chambers all over the state, economic development associations, regional development corporations, port authorities like the Duluth Port Authority, Red Wing Port Authority, and businesses like Granite Partners, DigiKey, and foundations like the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. And so I know many of you know many of those folks. They're important in your communities, and what I do is really try to amplify their voices about the kind of investments that we need in Greater Minnesota Minnesota. And so just wanted to echo the bill author here and reiterate that this is a really important investment. I do just want to note, and this is a little sort of getting ahead of the agency, but one of the items that I think we were really disappointed in, which you'll hear in the future, is that the governor proposes cutting the space funding for the BDPI program in his budget. And so I do, again, appreciate the bill author bringing this forward, just to reiterate to you how important this program is. And we'd really like to see this committee kind of echo that importance when you finalize your investments. So with that, happy to stand for any questions, and also just thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Simonson, I believe that you started saying that there was an allocation of money for this program in 2022, 2023. I think it was it 3.5 million? Can you correct me? Can you tell me what the amount that was allocated or appropriated to this program in the past?
Mr. Chair, it's a good question, and it does change from year to year, biennium to biennium. I can't remember the exact specific number, but it has been in the base, and it has been appropriated over the years, between $2 and $3.5 million, I think, over the last few bienniums.
But if I'm reading this correctly, you did say, and I do see, that you're asking for at least $1 million increase. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
And so even though you're asking for 2.5 in each year, that amounts to roughly $5 million, right? Because you're doing two years. And then please tell me what would justify us considering an increase now during a time when we don't have a lot on the bottom line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a great question, and I think the purpose of the 2.5 per year of the biennium is very simply the need is there. I think if you just look at the track record of the awards that have been given, if you look at the current state of the fund that's held in deed with a balance of about $5 million and five projects sitting in that queue ready to be awarded, that fund balance will be zero here at very soon.
Mr. Simonson, isn't it also true that you all get some money, or at least apply for money through capital investments? And tell me what is different about the money that we put in that fund and bonding requests?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the money that comes through this committee is certainly just as important as what comes through the Capital Investment Committee. The GO bonds that come from the Capital Investment Committee, they are just not consistent enough that we can count on them being there. Now, last year, for example, there was no capital investment bill, therefore there was no appropriation for the Greater Minnesota BDPI program. But those general fund dollars help to fill those gaps.
But when you agree, because there wasn't a capital investment bill last year, that there are others throughout the state that also didn't receive anything, and if they're not receiving anything, that talks about the volatility of the capital investment fund? Or the bonding bill?
Mr. Chair, yes, it does speak to that, and I think that is historically why this particular fund has been funded both ways, with a small appropriation through the general fund, the jobs bill, and then hopefully a larger appropriation through the capital investment bill.
Any other questions for any of the testifiers? Senator Pratt.
You knew I couldn't hold off not making some sort of comment. I want to thank Senator Jasinski for bringing this bill again. You know, we often talk, and I remember you and I had conversations that, you know, in order to have a healthy economy in the state, both the Metro and Greater Minnesota have to be doing well. And I think this is really a great program for ensuring the economic vitality and stability of Greater Minnesota, helping those communities compete for some of the businesses. And there are, quite honestly, a number of businesses that fit better in Greater Minnesota than they do in the metro area. And so, you know, I do think we need to look at bonding bills every other year, get back to that cadence. But I also agree with Senator Jasinski that, and I appreciate he's using general fund money instead of workforce development fund. I think that's the more appropriate source for us to be investing in the economic vitality and stability of the entire state. So thank you.
Any other questions? My only concern would be, and we'll certainly lay this over for possible inclusion, is the fact that this particular program already gets money in the base already. So it's my understanding there's already money in the base, and what they're asking for is more money in the base. And so that would be my concern. And if I'm in error, someone can correct me, but I think I see our fiscal person saying, no, you're not in error. So you're already getting money, but they're asking for more money in the base. Any other questions? Senator Jasinski, this is your bill. You get a chance to have the last word, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I think Senator Pratt brought up some very important things. A lot of these being involved in the real estate business for the last 30 years. A lot of projects like this somehow fit better in rural Minnesota because of the cost of land, things like that, where you need that. Obviously, infrastructure in the metro area with the Met Council, there's a lot of money available for water, clean water, wastewater. In rural Minnesota, as many of you have been on the bonding committee, there's not that money out there. So this is very, very important. Most of the money that I've seen used by BDPI is wastewater infrastructure extensions, extending water and sewer to these areas. So, and we have many aging facilities. So not only have to upkeep them, we have to extend the services out to provide jobs. And those jobs in rural Minnesota provide services, provide goods to the whole state. So it's a very important project. I hope someday when I pass away, BDPI is on my headstone because I'm so fascinated with this program and how good it is for Minnesota. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for considering it, and hope you include it in your overall bill.
Thank you so much for being here, but I hope that it says on your headstone that you had more hair than Bobby Joe Chan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion. Now, Senator Draheim is approaching the table, and it's my understanding that we are going to start with Senate File 221. Senator Draheim, when you're prepared and ready, please proceed and tell us how you'd like to go forward.
Thank
Senator
you, Chair.
Draheim.
And I missed what you said there, 221? Is that the one we're going to start with?
221, Senate
Okay.
File 221.
Thank you very much. You know, I obviously have 4 bills up. I appreciate that. The first one, Senate File 221, has to do with competitive grants. And for members that have been on the committee for a while, this isn't something new that we've talked about. You know, as our budgets tighten up, we have to make sure that we are using our resources to the best of our abilities to make sure we're reaching the most need. And I know we'll debate that all day long. But this is asking the commissioner to focus job training on high wage and high demand careers. And that crosses over quite a bit. You know, we had some discussion on Senator Boldon's bill on 116L.99, what the definition is of the high wage, high demand. And I can sure read that, Chair, if we need to. But that my intent on this is to continue to push the envelope that we focus priorities on where we can get people the most success. And that is on a career path job with the higher wages and the higher demand. So pretty straightforward. I will stand for questions to the committee.
So, Senator Draheim, just a question before we go to the committee. With this bill, if there is a priority given to high wage and high demand careers, do you believe that this bill then would make a suggestion that those individuals who may not have the educational attainment to get a high wage or high demand careers would be subservient to this being a priority?
Chair, thank you. Great question. You know, and I've mentioned this many times, I get, according to Google, I get to 20 to 25 cities a month, every month, all year round. And I visit a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, but a lot of my circle is other business people. And what, you know, the topics that normally come up in discussion in different communities across the state, obviously is affordable housing, daycare, and then the third one is just give me the bodies. And I think a lot of the training would be done by the employer if they could find the employees. So as we have that discussion on what to use our resources for, as we have constraints coming down on us that we haven't seen in quite a while, we're going to have to make some tough choices. And let me rephrase that. You're going to have to make some tough choices, Chair, on what we fund and what we don't fund. So if there are a bunch of positions that would be trained by the employer, and there are other careers out there that are in high demand and a higher wage that do need a little more training, I think we should try to focus more of our attention towards that. Not all of our attention, but just more attention on that. Because I do think there are a lot of employers out there that would be happy to train someone that's going to show up every day and come to work. And I hear it firsthand every day from employers is that we'll train them. We just need the bodies. So that's the intent and kind of the background of why I think this is important.
And Senator Draheim, you have always talked about this, so if you could help me understand one thing, because I'm trying to reconcile what this bill is saying and balance. If you look at high demand and you use an example, daycares, there is a high demand when you think in terms of daycare, but where they would fall short is when it comes to a high wage. One of the challenges that most daycare workers have said is that they're not receiving a high wage. So how then would that profession or our concentration in that area pass muster when we think in terms of Senate File 221?
Great question, and I'm going to reference the 116L.99 D. High wage, high demand means occupation that represent at least 0.1% of total employment in the last base year and have an annual median salary which is higher than the average for the current year. And I think that is the definition that would set that apart from the example you gave about daycare.
So, Senator Draheim, we would certainly talk about that because I'm not quite sure how that would reconcile, but thank you for that explanation. My biggest thing is I hope that as we talk about this bill and talk about its potential inclusion, that we address this issue of priority, because I'm always concerned about balance, right? And how do we make sure that every aspect of our society receives the support and benefits that they need, because we're going to need them all, right? I'm not one who don't see the importance of high demand and, you know, high education and IQ-driven jobs, but I also see the need for, you know, someone who may be just coming off the sidelines, and we need to engage in real time in order to make sure we're getting them ready to identify, select, and work towards a career. So I just think that balance, and sometime I think when we say give priority to, seems to sort of throw me in a little strange place. So Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think you bring up a really interesting conversation, and daycare is one of those that continues to struggle. I know down in my area, we're struggling to find healthcare workers. Mm-hmm. And we do pay an above average wage for most of our healthcare workers, and so I do want to be careful to suggest that there's a correlation, always a correlation between skill and education. And I think part of the grants that Senator Draheim is putting forward are about obtaining skills, maybe in lieu of education, and something that we should be looking at supporting. But very different issues, and I think it's, as we've seen with some of the OICs and other programs, it doesn't always take education in order to get skilled.
Any other issues? And that's a great point, Senator Pratt, because it's education and it's not the traditional way of being educated, but training is also education, right? So if you think in terms of a training program, whether it's 4 weeks or 5 weeks, it's not a 2-year program, it's not a 4-year program, but we don't always look at, or we should look at training as a form of education as well, right? So, any other questions for Senator Draheim? And Senator Draheim, seeing none, thank you so much for bringing this bill. We'll continue to have dialogue about it because I think it's a very important issue, and we have to wrestle with these important issues as we think about our budget. But to give you the last final words on Senate File 221, Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for hearing the bill. And I think Senator Pratt's right. I kind of envision it more of what I would refer to as a certificate-type education program where they learn a specific trade. I think it definitely could blend into medical. The Boldon and the bill that Nelson's worked on for a long time. Great program. I think it meets the definition of what I'm talking about here. But I think a lot of what we do is prioritizing. We got a lot of great options. We have a lot of great nonprofits that come up here with a plan, a lot of hard work, and we're going to have to make a decision on who to fund and who not to fund. And I think this is just something we should be mindful of as we move forward. But thank you, Chair.
With that being said, Senate File number 221 is laid on the table for possible inclusion. We will now go to Senate File 228. Senator Draheim, this is Workforce Development and Fund Appropriation Modification. Senator Draheim. Thank you, Chair.
Senate File 228 is quite lengthy. I think it's one sentence. I'm a man of many words. So it's pay for performance. Another subject I've been quite vocal about my time on this committee, this being my 9th year. I kind of reiterate what we just talked about in the last bill. When things tighten up, we should be making sure we're going to be able to leverage those tax dollars as far as we can to get the most people trained to get out in that career path job. And there's a lot of great programs out there. So that's what this does. For the pass-through entities, 25% for the Workforce Development Fund for 26 and up to 50% in 27. So pretty straightforward. I stand for questions, Chair.
Any questions for Senator Draheim? And just so that the committee knows that one of the programs who really represents how one might use pay for performance is Twin Cities Rise. And you'll hear from Twin Cities Rise later when they come in to do a presentation. So we'll revisit this when they come forward so you can at least ask questions about how it works and how it doesn't work, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and we can go from there if there are no additional questions. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, Senator Draheim, you can give your last words about it, and we can go from there.
Okay, appreciate it, Chair. I think you've covered it pretty well. If members do have questions, I do have a printout of the workforce program outcomes that are supposed to be reported, and a kind of overview of the job training program grant is what is in statute under 116J.8747. But thank you, Chair.
With that being said, Senate File 228 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you so much. Now we'll go to Senate File number 229, Draheim, labor force participation rates included as an economic indicator provision. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, a topic that I've been pretty vocal about, and I do think the agency is doing a great job about reporting, the workforce participation rates compared to what it was 9 years ago when I began this broken record. But going back to our limited resources, as our budget's probably getting tightened up a little bit, what this would do is report by the county. So a lot of questions on how we're going to get that data to be accurate. But this is kind of the goal. So we can pinpoint those resources. Not all of my 7 counties are going to need help with jobs programs as much as maybe Hennepin County or maybe a county up north. But we don't know. We are guessing. we really don't have the data to make those good decisions. And as the fiscal constraints make us adjust what we've been doing, my goal is that in the future, we'd be able to pinpoint maybe what county needs a little more help than others. The unemployment rate is not very useful, in my opinion. I think the data set that we use to get that is so small that I don't have a lot of reliability in it. But the workforce participation rate is something I think we should focus on. And, you know, if we want to really give people a leg up and get them on that career path, I think we need to know where to direct the resources. And I think this is the best way I can think of to do it. So thank you, Chair.
So Senator Draheim, with that being in mind, as you said that this bill would add county labor force participation rates to the list of economic indicators and those indicators that the Minnesota Job Skills Partnership Board would use to determine if funds should be extended to providing funding to at least the two programs that are under the board's purview. And it's my understanding, and I'm reading a note here, is that the Minnesota Job Skills Partnership Board is made up of 7 members appointed by the governor, the commissioner of deed, a representative from MnSCU, a representative from the University of Minnesota, and a non-legislator appointee from each of the Senate and the House. And they may, of course, direct funds. Can you tell me if you know why, when this was put together, that they did not include county labor as county labor force as participation rate as a prong or something that they should look at to determine the economic indicator? Why didn't they do it before?
Thank you, Chair. I think that was before my time. I think that was done back in the 80s. And I've only been here 9 years. But, you know, I think you bring up a good point. What programs are included in this? You know, you have the Job Skill Partnership Program, and then you have the Partnership Power. It's called under 116L.04. And that applies to both public and private sector, which, you know, public is a little different. So, and then the last one, the 116L.18, incumbent worker training grants, workers to gain a new skill that are in demand in the Minnesota economy, may encourage creative training models, innovative partnerships, and expansion of promising practices is what that states. So those are the 3 different statutes that it references that could be used in this. But I know it's not as simple as just putting it in statute. We have to have the data. And I think that will be an obstacle for this year. The fiscal note, you know, for the workforce participation rate, my understanding, it's, you know, from probably 4 years ago, that it's still based off of primarily an annual survey of about 70,000 Minnesotans done once a year by the federal government. So we don't have the data, and we're kind of spitballing. So this would help us not spitball and make sure that we are reaching the highest need communities first. So that is the goal.
So, Senator Draheim, before I go to Senator Pratt, one of the things that I think we should do once we lay this on the table for possible inclusion, that you get the answer to why the county labor participation rates were not included before, because I think you might learn, or at least my feeling might be, is so that the smaller counties would not be outdone by the larger counties because they have more and maybe more when we think in terms of density. And so I just think that we want to really think about that and get that explanation, because I think it might be something else that might be driving why the county participation rates, county labor force participation rates are not used as an economic indicator. But with that being said, Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and interesting conversation. Yeah, I maybe looked at this a little bit differently, because if we go on in the statute, in the existing statute, it says any additional relevant information brought to the board's attention. I think what Senator Draheim's bringing up is I went back and checked this. It looks like this statute was first put in about 2005 and not updated since. And yet our data collection practices have improved over the last 20 years. And maybe this is a way. It's not saying that they have to direct the funds in a specific way, but this was good information that maybe was hidden in other relevant, and bringing it to the forefront as something that, you know, whether it's the Federal Reserve or the National, the Bureau of Labor Statistics and others seem to be focusing more on as our data collection practices get better. So I guess I didn't see it as that big a change, Mr. Chair, but I certainly understand your concern. And if we have somebody from the Job Skills Partnership Board here, I'd love to hear their thoughts on it.
Do we have anyone here, Deed, or anyone that wants to speak to this issue? It looks like we have someone coming. And I know he's from Deed, but once you get to the table, if you'd be so kind as to identify yourself for the record and make sure you speak directly into the mic, that'd be great.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Devin Bowdry, Government Relations Director at Deed. This is federal data, and currently there's it's data that we would have to purchase from the feds. And the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics are also still working out.
Please speak more in the mic. Thank you.
The Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics are still working out amongst each other the cost per data unit, so we would have to get that. And if we were to do the survey and data collection ourselves, we would have to estimate we estimated that it's an expensive cost, but we'd have to work out how often we would collect that data and go from there. But when we've looked at it in the past, it has been expensive.
It was what?
Has been expensive.
Any other questions? Senator Pratt, follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Bowdry. A quick question. When we had this in front of the something similar to this in front of the Jobs Committee several cycles ago, there was discussion around the fact that labor participation rate was more of a survey question that was done by Deed. So my question to you is, do we have to purchase that information from BLS, or is Deed already conducting that survey and able to aggregate that data on a county level basis?
To testify.
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, we don't have detailed information that would be accurate at this granular of a geographic level, so that's where we would have to do our own additional survey.
Senator Pratt, follow up. You okay? Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, this discussion about the importance of the county labor force participation and do we have the data and how much it costs, as these questions went on, my concerns just became more and more evident. And a full disclosure, before I ask my question, I just want you to know I have promised my counties that I am on high alert for any costs to be shoved down, put on counties, transferred to counties. You know, I'm still reeling, quite frankly, from the governor's proposal to shift $804,000 from the state budget to our county budgets. And we know that goes to property taxes. And we know how people are struggling with increasing valuations of property taxes. So what I want to know is, with your proposal, Senator Draheim, about this additional information that might be needed, county labor force participation rates, I'm thinking very, very important. I want to know, though, will the counties be protected from needing to finance getting this information? Because they just cannot afford to continue to have things from this state capital shoved down into their budgets. And I want to make sure this is not one of them.
Senator Draheim, to the question,
Thank you, Chair, and great questions, great conversation here, members. You know, that's not my intent, and I don't think it would be, and I could see of maybe about a roundabout way of coming up with a number. You know, if we take the total number of people in Olmsted County, for instance, and then maybe how many participate in a social program that meets some kind of criteria where they aren't working, and maybe do some back of the envelope type math instead of paying for an expensive survey. Because the annual survey that they're currently using is done, like I said, once a year. But it's only 70,000 residents. And I don't know what the return rate is on that. And now this is old data. When I got the original old data, it was a spreadsheet about 14 feet long and about 3 feet wide. It used to be in my office. I think Senator Pratt saw it once. But with a ton of data on it. But we don't use it. And all I'm trying to get at is we can do better. And if we really want to help people, I think we need to know where those people are at. And we're spitballing. I mean, we got 87 counties. We're going to have to make some tough choices. What counties get help, what counties don't get help. That's another discussion we'll have to have. But
Senator Nelson.
right now, we're basing it off of wherever a nonprofit's located. And we don't have like the nonprofit that's was primarily set up in Rochester originally for the health one that Senator Boldon carried this year, and I know you carried it in the past. It does great work, but they don't cover the whole state. So we need to find that balance of where can we help all across the state in every county and get the help, because there's some counties that have very, very, very small populations, 6,000 people. And then there's counties like Hennepin County and Ramsey County that have a ton of population. So, and they both have different needs. And our job as a state is to help everybody in the state, no matter what county they live in. And that's what I'm trying to get at.
Senator Nelson, follow up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Draheim, thank you for the discussion. And I am so glad, obviously, you recognize, as most of the state does, that there's no one-size-fits solution for everyone. That's like a no-size-fits. It just doesn't fit when we try these one-size solutions for everyone. But I do want to just be clear. As this moves forward, I do think we just need some clarification. I need clarification that our counties are not going to be put on the hook for accessing, paying for, getting this additional information. They just can't afford that. And so just please be cognizant of the plight of our Minnesota counties that are struggling with so many unfunded mandates, and now the governor's 804,000 additionally just in HHS alone. I just want to be clear that we have to be very cognizant of that. And even good things, we have to make sure that we know who is paying the cost. And it must not be the counties, again, taking that whack and then putting it onto the property tax rate. So thank you.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Champion, and thank you, Senator Nelson. And I think you misspoke there. It was almost $804 million. On our spreadsheet, I think it comes across as thousands. But right before I came to this committee, I got one of my counties sent me their estimates of what that's going to cost their county, and they're having a hard time figuring that out. I am very mindful of that. I think most of us are on pushing more and more expense down to our county level. That's not my intent with this bill. My intent with this bill is to get the resources to communities that need it first, as we have to make those tough choices once again on picking winners and losers, on what communities get the help that they need to get people trained and put on a career path job. So thank you, Chair, for the time.
Any other questions for Senator Draheim before we lay this bill over for possible inclusion? Members, remember that this will not be the only time you'll be able to talk to Senator Draheim about his proposal. And Senator Draheim, I'm sure between now and the future that you'll get the answers to some of these questions that have been put forward. Any last minute questions or, okay. With that being said, Senate File 229 is laid over for possible inclusion. And the last Draheim bill is Senate File number 237. Senator Draheim is going to talk to us about Greater Minnesota Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant Program expansion. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the former senator here for coming up and speaking to this. Senator Jasinski obviously had the bill funding this program that we saw on this flyer. Great success with this, and I represent, I think, 34 communities across my 7 counties, and most of them are very small communities. And a lot of them have some attempt at some kind of ADA type development or economic development. And they are just looking for anybody and everybody that wants to come to their community and employ people. So some of the discussion, and a couple of them, was that, is there any way we could get commercial development into that already quite lengthy list of uses for this program that is very, very, very heavily used? So what my amendment, or my bill does, is just add for one of the uses, commercial development, which is a broad term. And I'm going to be real blunt with my proposal here, that if we're going to add this, we should add more to the fund, because it will get used more. So that's a great problem to have, but that is one of the uses that I think would be used quite heavily, because we have manufacturing, and a lot of times they'll start in the back of a development, and there are some uses for some commercial type projects in a development, but it isn't part of this program. And these small towns hardly have any tax base, and this would add a tax base that would help fund the local school, the local fire department, et cetera. So that's what I'm trying to do with this expansion of the bill, is just add another type to already very heavily used program that I think has done its intended job. So thank you.
So Senator Draheim, you hit the nail on the head, because I was going to ask this question, but perhaps now is the best time to ask you the question. With the new eligible use being commercial development, and is not defined in the bill, and it would seem to me that it would, as you stated, significantly broaden the interpretation that would expand potential project types supported by the grant program. Are you thinking about adding a definition to what constitutes commercial development as a way to at least limit or restrain the potential usage, so that others are not able to use up all the money, and then the other identified uses will always have an opportunity to receive a grant, or at least be eligible to receive a grant? Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Great question. I would phone a friend and see if there's anything in statute. I know it's not defined in 116J 431, so I don't know what definition it would fall back to. But I also don't see any of the other definitions defined in that same section.
We'll go to Senate Council. Ms. Fontaine.
Sure. Mr. Chair and members and Senator Draheim, you're correct. There aren't definitions necessarily for like agricultural process. Oh, that has a definition, but other terms. However, I would point out, for example, in the MIF statute, what it does is excludes what kind of commercial or retail. It would like exclude retail or exclude gambling facilities or other sort of adult kind of shops or maybe, liquor stores, or, you could exclude things or include things. But for example, I know that statute has some limitations as to retail, or I think it excludes retail from that particular statute.
Senator Draheim.
Yep, thank you. And subdivision 3 of that 116J431, it does list retail office space as the two primary office space development are the two exclusions or ineligible products or programs. But just being transparent with the presentation of what the concept is here. And I would love to hear from the testifier here.
Mr. Simonson, will you be so kind as to identify yourself for the record and provide your 2 minutes of testimony?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Eric Simonson. I represent the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Coalition represents about 115 cities, all outside the 7-county metro area. We want to thank Senator Draheim for trying to think outside the box here. How can we accomplish economic growth in Greater Minnesota is a question that many legislators often ask. But we must respectfully oppose this particular bill for a couple of points that I want to share with the committee today. The Greater Minnesota BDPI program concept came out of the CGMC in 2002 and was approved by that particular legislature. The program actually remains much the same as it was originally written nearly 25 years ago. There were some small changes in 2009, 2016, and 2021, all which were supported by Greater Minnesota communities. Secondly, Senate File 237 adds commercial development, and this was already alluded to in the opening comments, which we appreciate, to the list of eligible projects, which is somewhat ambiguous in itself. We want you to consider the fact that the eligible projects in current law are designed to provide the highest level of return to Greater Minnesota communities through not only living wage careers, but the quantities of those career type positions that are generally born out of current eligible projects. In closing, we again appreciate the thoughts around how we can improve development in Greater Minnesota, but this program really is underfunded as it is. Adding another eligibility factor would only increase the cost to the program, and we really have a difficult time fighting for the levels that we get now. We're happy to continue this conversation and always willing to be a resource for Greater Minnesota cities.
Any questions for the testifier for Mr. Simonson? Any questions for Senator Draheim? Seeing none, closing comments, Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Great discussion once again on a bill. And, I think every community is a little different. And most of my 34 little communities are begging for people to come, just begging. And having a new place that might only have a half a dozen people work for it would be fantastic. That would be a big win in my neck of the woods for most of my communities. So, I know a lot of what's being used has been for the infrastructure, for manufacturing. But some of these manufacturing facilities employ more people than a lot of my towns have in it. And there really isn't a program for these very small towns. And this is my attempt to expand the program to help out those little itty-bitty communities across the state. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Draheim. And with that being said, we will lay Senate File number 237 on the table for possible inclusion. We will now proceed to bring to the table Senator Lang for Senate File number 304. And it looks like there are a couple testifiers. One, Ivana Stark, is with us here from Clean Water Action, and then we have a couple testifiers that will be by way of Zoom. And Senator Lang, would you like to start off with your A3 in order to get the bill in the shape that you would appreciate?
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Yes, I do have the A3 amendment. Just to A quick overall, this is, the original form of the bill was just to get it started. As I've talked to some of the interested parties and the way it's gone through the session, this is what we believe is going to make it the most viable with the A3 amendment. I do have an oral amendment after that, Mr. Chair.
So with that being said, Senator Draheim moves adoption of the A3 amendment. Any discussions on the A3? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The A3 is adopted.
Thank you,
And now
Mr.
to your
Chair.
oral amendment that you want to
So
present.
through discussion and trying to find some supporters of the bill, and I first of all have to say thank you to Senator Frentz and Senator Putnam for signing on the bill with me and being very interested as this is starting to proceed through the process. So thank to those two members. But I did have the Clean Water Action Group stop in and talk to me about the bill, and they offered a rather simple, maybe just call it a more reassuring oral amendment, and it's to add the word safer.
Where?
And it's lines 1.12 after the word new and prior to the word PFAS, add the word safer. And I thought that was a good governance way of changing the bill.
Senator Draheim, will you offer that amendment as well?
Thank you. I would love to offer that, but can we have council just report it, just to
I
make sure?
will. Senate Council, will you report the oral amendment?
Mr. Chair, members, I believe it's on line 1.12 of the underlying bill, so not on the amendment. On line 1.12, after new, insert safer.
Just before I go back to Senator Draheim, Senator Lang, is that where you wanted that
That
oral
is
amendment?
perfect, Mr. Chair.
Senator Draheim.
So I offer the oral amendment to add safer on line 1.12 after the word new.
Any other discussion on the oral amendment? Seeing none, Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I like the word safer, but I guess my question is, does that mean there are other things that aren't safer, and how do you define safer? And I'm just curious about adding this word. It kind of is a little bit cloudy, actually.
Senator Lang, or would you like to phone a
Thank you,
friend,
Mr.
maybe
Chair.
someone from
I can
Clean
do a
Water?
little of both, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Senator Lang.
I know we're time limited, and I think I'm at the end now, right?
No, you don't have a time limit. You're fine.
Oh.
It's just to testify.
I appreciate that. I saw Jasinski jump the shark earlier.
To keep us
so.
here all day. Let me just say that. Senator
So,
Lang.
thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator Nelson. So the verbology that we put in there, we thought it was the simplest way of attacking the problem, that PFAS, be it the chemical, there are other alternatives that would technically be more dangerous in certain aspects. So this would clarify that we are going in one direction only, and that's away from the PFAS. And I don't know if. Okay, there we go. That is the simplest explanation. Through talking through staff and council, adding the word safer was standard.
Senator Nelson, follow up.
Well, I'm glad you feel it's standard. I just want to make sure that it's not just specifying one certain PFAS-free alternative, and maybe that's a broader discussion about other PFAS alternatives that are not safer. But as the author of the bill, I just will have you continue with that line of thinking. But I'm not convinced that actually that really helps the case to say safer. But as the author of the bill, you have that prerogative.
Any other discussions on the oral amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, just so you know, this is the only bill that we have today that you're actually going to vote on to leave the committee. So I want you to pay special attention because it will not come back to us. I want you to know that. So with that being said, Senator Lang to Senate File number 304 as amended. Would you kind of talk through the bill with us?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, what the heck are we talking about here, right? So, members, I live in rural Minnesota, and I live next to a beet plant. And at a beet plant, there's a huge pile of, well, it's waste. And part of that waste is what's called beet pulp. I was approached by a local farmer that pretty much said, hey, I got something you might want to look at. I got a company that I'm investing in that makes a product, and I think I sent the bottle around. Now, they don't make a cardboard bottle, but what they do produce is the spray or the coating that goes on the outside of that cardboard bottle. So go ahead, beat the heck out of that thing as you're passing it around and get the tangible feel for what they actually make. And I keep using this terminology, but it is the plasticky coating that's not plastic. I think they actually told me at one point in time it's edible. I don't know if it tastes very good, but that's what they produce. So the way that this has come forward is that the group of investors and the business owners and all of this company is called Cellucomp, and as they've come forward, they said, you know what, we'd like to be co-located with this huge supply of fibrous material that comes from beet pulp. It is the most viable option for what we want to produce. Now, they can produce a lot of different products. They can produce coatings for all sorts of different ideas. But the thing that really stuck with me is the fact that it's a PFAS replacement in products. Well, how lucky are we that we're talking about PFAS pretty heavily over the last 2 years? And this is, and how do we provide them some sort of financial benefit to stay in the state of Minnesota, to stay close to that beet pile that they want to be close to, stay as close as possible to the metro for shipping reasons and for production reasons? And the best way we could think of is, well, you should apply for the bioincentive grant. There's grants within the MPCA that we're working on, but none of those really fit. None of those really work specifically for a company like this that doesn't really exist until just a couple of years ago. So what we have in the bill in its entirety is a grant proposal or a grant process that would go to a company like this or one similar that would allow them to start production. Now, the grant is much like the bioincentive grant, where it has to have some sort of production before the state pays out. So they have to produce before we give them any money. So I think that's a valuable thing. And I truly think, and I think, you know, Senator Putnam and Senator Frentz have showed a lot of interest in this, and there's a lot of other interested people and agencies and advocacy groups that are looking into this going, heck, this looks pretty good. And I don't know if the business or the companies that would be producing this really understand exactly how big this could be. So with that, Mr. Chair, I can turn it over to our testifier, and I hope he's up. We'll have to see.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There we go. Christian is up.
Yeah. So, hello. And if I share my screen, could you hear or not?
We can hear you fine.
Mr. Griffin, we can hear you if you state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony, and you'll be given 2 minutes. Proceed.
Okay. My name is Christian Kemp Griffin, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and for the whole committee for listening to us. I might just share my screen so you can follow through on a short presentation, if that's easy for you. Just 1 second, please. Is that visible for everybody?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much again. What we would like to do, is Senator Lang has expressed, is to leverage sugar beet pulp for sustainable packaging. So we have a problem in the world, a crisis, where there's a plastic problem and a PFAS problem in packaging. Predominantly, this is hurting both wildlife and people. And actually, there's a desire to move packaging from recyclable, compostable, and biodegradable packaging. We'd love to use fiber. The problem is fiber is very weak when it's thin, and it's very porous, so it has no barrier. And this is typically where PFAS was used in the past. So what we do is we extract small fibers coming from waste streams and of sugar beet pulp, and we use this in 2 ways. One is we put it into the substrate, so mix it in with the paper to close the porosity of the paper. So you see the bottle there, those fibers are in the actual paper itself, and they're also in a separate coating as well. And that allows you to have the full barrier. So we believe that you can make any packaging for food, pharma, home care, personal care out of paper if you can use these sugar beet waste streams. So we work with all kinds of people around the world, machine suppliers, people who are converters and brands in order to drive this through the market. And the reason we want to come here is because you have a unique situation in Minnesota where you freeze your sugar beets and you actually have 9 months of production per year. So you have 9 months of waste beet pulp throughout the year. And nowhere else in the world does this happen. And so this is a huge opportunity for us.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
And we spend about, we spend about,
We'll let you do the last line, and that's it. What is the last sentence that you want to say?
the last sentence I want to say is basically we'd like to go to Renville and we'd like to participate there and follow this grant and produce a lot of packaging there in a completely sustainable way.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mr. Griffin? Anyone? Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Lang. I know I had somebody in my office talking about this yesterday, and it's pretty cool. But maybe for your testifier, I'm just wondering that material, is there like an expiration on it? Like if you have liquid in it for 2 years, is the liquid still good, or has it been tested that far out?
To the testifier.
Yeah. Yep, it depends entirely on the liquid. So it can be for dry product or liquid. So you'd probably have a set shelf life for each thing. But usually that would be the brand require different shelf lives for different products. So it really depends on the product itself.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And is this, is it already in production somewhere is it on the market for products?
To the testifier.
Yes, it's on the market for products. But we have only done it in a demo factory, and we'd like to build the first of kind commercial factory in Minnesota. The decision is to start the process anyway, as of next month.
Sorry about that, Mr. Griffin. I almost stepped on you there when you were giving your last words. You want to repeat what you said? I believe that you said that you've only done it in a demo country. Is that correct?
We've done a demo factory, and this would be the first commercial size factory.
Senator
and then
Housley.
we have.
Where's the demo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Gustafson and I were just sitting here chatting about this because it's pretty neat, but we're wondering, is there any other word you can use besides waste, like from the sugar beet? Because it's still like a sugar beet in some form, but when you use the word waste, it just kind of like byproduct. Can you I'm not telling you how to run your business or anything, but
No. It's co-product stream, and actually today, what happens? A lot of that sugar beet pulp is converted into animal feed. Some of it is actually put back onto the land or fed very locally, because there's always an extra amount that ends up out of the sugar beet factory. So co-product stream is another word that is perfectly viable.
I like that word better. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Nelson.
Yep, thank you. Just two brief questions. Where is the demo factory? And give me some sort of idea about the quantity of products that you have already produced. Are we talking about a crate? Are we talking about 1 million? Just to kind of give me some sense of the size of your product distribution, and also where where this demo factory is.
To the testifier.
The demo factory is in Scotland, just outside of Edinburgh. And we produced, I would say, 10 tons of our product, which produces, I would say, roughly 3 million products.
Senator Nelson, follow up?
No, that's enough. Thank you.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and kind of along that lines, first of all, I got to say I think it was page 6 of the presentation with some of the examples of how this is being used is fascinating. But I'm looking on page 12 of the presentation, the scale-up plan. Here we are in 2025. Can you give me a sense of how the grant money that you're seeking would help you get from, get to that 2026 scale-up goal?
To the testifier.
Yeah, so the initial investment we want to make without the grant, is to get the 800-ton plant up and running, and we would need the additional funding in order to get it to the 2,800-ton scale that you see there. That would be partly to get more capacity out, also include wastewater backup provisions, and also to include food provisions, so food safety provisions.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pratt, follow up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And the bill calls for a minimum of a $2 million award, maximum of $5 million award. Can you just give me a sense of the total cost of building the factory and how much more are you raising and how are you getting that? Is that through private funds? Are you getting other grants? Maybe give me a sense of your overall financing plan.
To the testifier.
Well, yeah, the financing plan is a combination of, so we're investing, right now, we've invested $10 million in the overall R&D of the project already. We're doing an equity raise for $4.5 million right now. 1.5 is going directly into the 800-ton factory itself. And then as we expand, we'll probably, depending on the working capital needs, may add a bit of debt as well. But we will use the grant predominantly for CapEx in the factory and sales and marketing and R&D, which I think is on one of the pages of the presentation.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, and Mr. Chair, and just one last question. How many jobs do you think this will bring to the community?
We're looking at 19 in the factory and an additional 5 for headquarters.
Thank you.
Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, I think you said you put $10 million into it with a $4.5 million in equity in terms of return. I guess why do you need state money to do this if things are sort of, you have investors to do this?
To the testifier.
Well, because it's hard to find, it's usually a combination of trying to find debt, equity, and grant in order to get the project off the ground. And we need that combination to do it. It's hard to raise it all under just pure equity.
Follow up, Senator Mohammed.
And I just wanted to get a clarification that a question Senator Pratt asked, which was how many jobs do you think this will bring in? You said 19,000 jobs? Like how many? I didn't hear
19
that.
in the initial stages.
Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 19 in the initial stages, and then they have a headquarters building, I believe is 5 is what they originally said. But as the plant grows, obviously it'll grow in scope as well.
Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did get a copy of the presentation here. I'm reading about the environmental impact, diverting 80,000 tons of sugar beet pulp annually from low-value uses. What are the low-value uses that it's being used for now? And now if this goes forward, that use won't be there. What are those low-value uses?
To the testifier or Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator Nelson. So the low-value uses is they spread it on fields as waste, more or less. I hate to use that term, as byproduct. And I've heard it being used as animal bedding,
As what?
Animal bedding for them to lay on. So it is not, at least locally, until I met the folks from Cellcomp, it really is not a valued product. In fact, it's stockpiled at the beet plant. So it's, yeah.
Then a follow-up.
Senator Nelson.
Follow-up, Mr. Chair. Just curious, what are they using in, you said it's in Ireland right now, where the factory is?
Scotland, yeah.
Scotland?
Scotland.
What's being used now instead of the 80,000 tons of sugar beet pulp? Just curious.
To the testifier or Senator Lang.
It's, I'll do it. It's sugar beet pulp as well, but just coming from Europe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. Good discussion. Just a comment real quick about Senator Mohammed's question about kind of why there, or why is it needed, the help. They're real close to the Dakotas, and we have lost a lot of different factories and production to the Dakotas. And their time frame to get up and running will be about a third of the time it will be in Minnesota. So if we want to keep the jobs and more importantly, the industry, and to me, when you look at its partners here that they have hopefully potential with, you know, the food manufacturing we have here in Minnesota and the packaging, I hate plastic. I happen to have plastic here today, but I do not care for plastic. And if we can get away from plastic, I'm all for it. I think this is a great investment for a community of 11,842 lakes to get rid of as much plastic as possible. It'd be interesting, we don't have to talk about it now, but the half-life of this new product. The two questions I have, or three questions really. Senator Lang, are there any other plants planned, or is this the only one? And then is the ask scalable? And then what is AURI's role in where we're at and where we're headed?
Senator Lang, to those three questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator Draheim. And to address, first of all, what you mentioned with Senator Mohammed, it is a small group of jobs, and I know I'm in front of the Jobs Committee, and that having a $10 million ask is a starting point for sure, but it definitely is needed. And the industry is going to be bigger than the 19 jobs. It most certainly affects industry throughout the state, especially if they start producing at the level that we think they can. As far as keeping the business in the state of Minnesota, that is ultimately my goal. The testifier probably won't tell you that the things that I will, that they are looking other places, of course. The locality of the sugar beet plant and the locality of how close it is, that's as close as you can get to the cities. That's as close as you can get to the metro. So that most certainly is the focal point of what this grant program could be. As far as that being the only plant, yes, as far as I know, they don't plan on building anywhere else. I think they can produce the level of product that they need, or at least in the beginning stages, at that location, as long as the beet pulp remains available. Scalability, I think it is. You know, with the bioincentive program that, you know, we spent years on in both ag and environment committees over and it just didn't fit very well. And realistically, the scalability of that is that it is in the negative right now as far as a grant program. So that's the initial push behind this. AURI has been very interested. I've had some behind the scenes conversation, and they are not the only ones. I've had some discussions with some MPCA personnel, and I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest. I think it's kind of a win-win-win as long as we can keep them in the state of Minnesota. And I think the product kind of speaks for itself. That technically is a disposable bottle, but Christian would tell you that he uses it on a regular basis again and again. So it's pretty interesting, and it turned a light bulb on me when they came to my office and talked to me about it. So.
Senator Lang, a couple questions before I go to Senator Gustafson. If this is a $2 million request that they end up getting, because the minimum, the maximum is $2 million, even though they're asking for $10 million in this bill, and if we're talking about 19 jobs, if you just use some quick math, that's roughly $105,000 per job, which is kind of high, right? So you've already kind of spoken to that, but you kind of, glossed over it, even though we're in the Jobs Committee. That is a high premium in order to ask someone about. That's number one. And number two, are there any other organizations producing a similar product? Because it sounds like you, even though this seems to be an appropriation to deed, and then there's some specifications around who should be eligible or where preference should be given, it seems like it's being set up to be something specifically for this manufacturer or product maker in your district, which is not always a bad thing, but I'm just trying to understand exactly what's going on, because it sounds like you're trying to do a direct appropriation without calling it a direct appropriation. And then my last question would be, are you currently working with DEED, and are they getting any other funds from DEED through any other program? Those are my three questions.
So, Mr. Chair, about the 19 jobs, those are the same questions I asked. And I knew I was coming to the Jobs Committee, but these are questions I've asked. We had the bill last year, and there was 3 different versions of the bill. One was a direct appropriation. I said, I just want to get it on the radar of everybody in the legislature and say, let's general fund, I don't care, this is a worthwhile project. As far as the 19 jobs, again, the way that I reason with myself and say, yeah, it's 19 jobs or 24 jobs in the county, that's actually a pretty significant amount of jobs in my county. That being said, again, it affects the industry throughout the state. It affects plastic industries and packaging industries across the state, especially when it comes to some of the legislation that we've passed in the last couple of years. So I think it fits in well. I think we undersell it when we say there's 19 or 24 jobs, and in fact, it probably affects vastly greater than that, and I don't have the metrics to prove that to you, but I'm sitting here in front of you saying it's probably going to affect more than 19 people. Eligible. So this is a topic that we, again, with the bioincentives, I'm going to use that for an example. The bioincentive grant program was specifically, it is not earmarking. In fact, and since that program has been in inception, it has added other businesses that are eligible for that. As far as this business being the only one that's eligible for this, I don't know of anybody else doing this. I think it's kind of cutting edge. I think it's proven they've done it. They just are looking to go at a greater scale. Does that mean that anybody else wouldn't be eligible? Absolutely not. I mean, right? Innovation is the impetus of competition, and for sure. So as far as DEED, they have been talking to DEED. They've been talking to DEED at length. I don't think they've been awarded anything, at least the last time that I talked to them just a couple of months ago, they had not been. If the testifier would like to comment, if something has changed, I'm not aware of it. So.
No, nothing formally has been awarded by DEED, no. But we have been in contact with them.
All right, with that being said, Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Lang. I love this idea. I love that it's going to be an expansion of business and opportunities in Minnesota, that it's local, that it's using products. Mostly, I was one of the people who carried a PFAS bill in 2023, so I love that we're addressing this whole thing too. So I'm very supportive of the bill, and I really like that. I do have one question, though, because I am a little bit concerned about our budget, how we have a limited budget. And they're asking for a lot of money. And to just add on to a little bit of what Senator Mohammed was, I think, getting at too, is that the cost on our end. And I understand companies come in and they want us to buy in so that they feel as if we're invested in this too, which I think is great. One question I have for either you or the testifier, if they don't get the appropriation, will they still come here? Will they still invest in that community if they don't get the full amount or any?
Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Gustafson. So as far as budget concerns are going, so this is something, fully cognizant of the fact that we're in a deficit situation in the state of Minnesota. I have been in discussion with both DEED, there isn't many agencies that I haven't talked to, but specifically Commissioner Tom Peterson, has been very supportive of this. And it's something that we've been working through the Department of Ag, that this may happen. I don't have any significant details on that as of yet. He's very supportive. He's like, this is something where we probably need to start, digging pennies out of the couch to find out how to do this. So, and what was the second part? I'm sorry.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If they don't get the appropriation they're asking for, will they still invest in Renville?
Senator Lang.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. And so that they're going to build, they have to build this prior to to be even able to apply to the grant program. It's the same way the bioincentives work. They have to produce before they can be eligible for the grant program. So they're going to build it. The biggest thing I want to do is I want to keep them in Minnesota. I want to keep them building in Minnesota. I don't want them to go to South Dakota. We've seen that a couple times recently, and it's been tough for me to see businesses that we're trying to promote and trying to, provide some sort of economic development within rural Minnesota, and in this case, it kind of expands throughout the state more than others. So, and he may be able to speak to that a little more precisely as far as what the scale, because that, does talk right back into the scalability question, what the scale of the plant looks like if they were not to be awarded some sort of a grant or whether it's from Dolly or Deed or the Commissioner of Ag, so, and Christian may be able to respond to that a little better than I can.
Well, I think, we spent a good, I'd say 3 years in around the area of North Dakota, up in Moorhead as well, down in Renville, where a lot of the plants are, the sugar beet plants. And I have to say, just the environment in Minnesota has been extremely positive. And we'd love to set up in Renville, we really would. And I think because we've got investment from local farmers there in that area, we have a very good relationship with Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Cooperative, the president there and his team, that we'd love to go there, and we will build there. We will build the initial starting kit of the plant there. So we'd like to commit to that. Of course, to scale and to make it really successful, that is getting the product at the cost that we need it in order to sell it at scale, then we need some help to take it from what we're guaranteeing to invest into a much bigger plant. And so we're committed to the first stage, absolutely, in Minnesota.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being part of Senator Gustafson's bill and the Amara's law with Clean Water Action, I mean, PFAS is on top of everybody's mind. And I was even watching some documentary the other day where they're doing autopsies and they're finding plastic embedded in human bodies because of all of our drinking out of plastic bottles and all of our food products that are made with plastic. So I think this is something that is so extremely important, and to be on the front end of it, I wouldn't want Minnesota to miss out. And a couple of people have asked the question, would they still build in Renville? I think Mr. Kemp Griffin has said, yes, they still will, but I would absolutely hate if we did end up losing another business to one of the Dakotas. So I do hope, I know it's a limited budget and 10 million is a lot of money, and if there's some way, Mr. Chair, you could figure out a way to phase this in or just not lose this opportunity, because I think it's a really good one.
And just so you all know that this is a bill that we have to vote on in order to send it to the Agricultural Committee. So we're gonna lean on them to pay the $10 million or whatever they have to pay. Senator Pah.
Thank you, Chair Champion. I think that we all know that PFAS is something that we're dealing with, and we definitely want it removed from our packaging and from our products. I guess one of the questions I have for the testifier is, there are some PFAS-free alternatives that could be used, but they have their own health and environmental concerns as well that comes with it. I'm just wondering, as you are developing these new ways of having PFAS-free products, could you talk a little bit more into like how you're thinking about that and how you're addressing that? Because there are some alternatives that, like I said, have their own health and environmental concerns.
And Senator Lang to that, and I just want to remind the committee that we finished at 2:30, so I wanted to make sure we could get through this as quickly as possible. And so Senator Lang, if you could give a very targeted answer, that'd be great. Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Pah. From my vantage point, I'm not an expert on PFAS replacements other than this. And Christian may be able to dial in on that a little bit more. The good thing is that when I heard this bill, when I heard the proposal prior to writing the bill, I heard that they're making it from beet pulp. You can consume beets. You can consume beet pulp. It's all natural, as long as, and this is something that we looked at and we've talked about with Clean Water Action, is that the fields do not have PFAS applied to the fields prior to having beets on them. And the good news is they haven't. So, and part of that is because of prior Minnesota regulation. Part of that is because of good practices of farmers. And yeah, and if Christian wants to talk a little bit about the other alternatives to PFAS, and I'm this much in tune with what you're saying because I kind of know some of the other alternatives, but he probably has a better idea.
Yeah, the idea is just if you extract these very small fibers from the beet pulp, which is what we're doing, you can actually create a film from it. You can actually lay it down and create a film. And that is basically an extraction of vegetables. So just to let you know, is we are actually applying with the FDA for GRAS approval to actually eat the material itself. This is the beet pulp. So it's actually a food additive as well. So it is entirely safe. Of course, we put it in a various number of coatings as well. And all the coatings, depending for what use, have different alternatives, but the idea is basically get everything out of plastic and out of PFAS laced into paper-based product. Because as soon as you're paper-based, it's all recyclable back into cardboard and can be used for many, many different things. And you've got local businesses that we're talking to now that take recycled paper and use it to make other products. The infrastructure around Minnesota is amazing for that.
All right, Senator Hur is next on my list. Oh, did you have a follow-up, Senator Pa? Sorry about that. Senator Pa.
Thank you, Chair Champion. Thank you so much for that. I guess one of my biggest concern was the silicone coating that could be used on some of these products that also has their own harmful effects. But thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Senator Pa. I didn't realize that you had a follow-up. Senator Hur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And if you could speak right into the mic there, Senator Hur.
I had two questions, but after listening to the discussion and members, dive into some of the questions that I want to ask, especially the routing of the funds and also the job that will be created. So it's a good combination between the environment and also science and job production. So I support the intent of the bill going forward. And my second question already had some answer already too. So just to cut short, you mentioned that it will be going to agriculture.
That is correct.
Will it be coming to environment as well, or is that?
I don't know the answer to that question. That would be something that the Environment Committee could request it to go there if it needs to, especially answering the questions around the environmental concerns.
And for now, I'm still thinking through, but I'll talk to Clean Water Action and see. I like this to go out as quickly as possible and make it more a smooth transition. I don't want it just to bring it to my committee just for attention purpose. And I was part of the team that support the Amara law. But let me evaluate through
and we're going to go to Senator Pratt, and then we got Ivana is still going to testify. Are you still testifying? She will have 2 minutes, so if you can come up to the table while Senator Pratt is asking his question.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't have questions. I don't know that we can measure the benefit of this just by the number of jobs it created. I think this has the potential of having a statewide economic impact. But as this moves forward, and if it were to make it through Ag and to the Finance Committee, three of us will see it again. And I would really like to have more detail and explanation around the project costs, right? So there's a detail here on how the first $5 million will be spent, but I'd like to see how the public money factors in with the private money into the construction of the facility. So, for instance, does the facility cost $4 million, and we're covering all of the cost of that construction? Are we 50%? I think there just needs to be more explanation and detail around how that works out. And that's what I was trying to get at with the financing plan. And then I'd also like, to look forward with the second $5 million, how that might be spent. So I don't want an answer now because we're short on time, and I want to give your testifier time, but just something as it moves forward.
Ivana Stark, who is the testifier. State your name for the record, and if you'll give us your 2 minutes worth of testimony.
Chair Champion and members of the committee, I'm Ivana Stark, State Director of Clean Water Action. We are a member-driven organization with thousands of members across the state, and our mission is to ensure everyone has clean, drinkable, fishable water for generations to come. I'm very glad to be here in support of Senate File 304 and wholeheartedly support the verbal amendment that will ensure safer alternatives are used instead of PFAS, known as forever chemicals. This is a vital addition to the bill to ensure what scientists call regrettable substitutions are avoided in the process of formulating new alternatives. We have been a broken record since passage of Amara's Law, the nation's most comprehensive ban on toxic PFAS, saying that finding safer alternatives to PFAS has the potential to create jobs and be profitable for businesses of all sizes. As the global community moves away from using PFAS in consumer products, Minnesota has an opportunity to be a leader in manufacturing safe products for global sale, and this also means growth of jobs in multiple sectors. Also, manufacturing jobs that produce these PFAS-free products will be safer for those who work them. We're grateful that Senator Lang is taking steps to inspire innovation and find safer alternatives. PFAS manufacturers knew in the 1950s that these chemicals are toxic and harm human health, and we all know the dangers linked to our health through exposure. This grant program will honor Minnesota's history of being an innovative leader, change maker, employer, and protector of our natural resources and human health, and we look forward to supporting this bill and many others like it. I do want to mention that the Green Screen certification is a set of standards scientists use, and they are meant to ensure chemical alternatives are safer than the original problem. There are 4 levels of safety: prefer, good, but opportunity for improvement; use, but search for better; and avoid, because it's a chemical of concern. So when we're talking about the word safer, that's what we're talking about, that we are ensuring that the product that we're using in place of PFAS is actually safer and not going to lead to additional health impacts.
And with that, thank you so very much. You did it in 2 minutes there. I like that. You all have done a really good job of asking questions, but now the issue before you is what we're going to do with the bill now. But it's my understanding that Senator Draheim moves that Senate File 304 as amended be passed and re-referred to the Committee on Agriculture. Is that your?
It is. Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Thank you, Senator Lang, and thank you to your testifiers, and thank you to all those who attended today. Thank you so very much.
Mr. Chair,
Have a good
members.
day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
With that being said, members, we have nothing else on our agenda for today, and we'll see you next week. With that, the committee is adjourned.